Welcome to the Health KPI Podcast, formerly known as the Burnout Expert Podcast. In episode 1 to 35, we focused on stress from a burnout perspective, featuring solo episodes and interviews. Interestingly, during every burnout interview, none of the individuals realized they were experiencing burnout. Not one realized they were experiencing burnout until they were already on the path to recovery. So now, starting from episode 36 on, we are changing our approach, changing our name, and looking through the lens of performance. I will begin with solo episodes where I'll teach you how to track essential health data, eliminate guesswork, and save you time and money while enhancing your performance. It is time to take tangible progress in improving your sleep, energy, focus, and moods, which will ultimately boost your productivity, performance, and leadership capabilities in both your career and your home life with your family. Every episode will be beneficial to you. So let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to episode 15 of the Burnout Expert Podcast, where we are going to dive into the difference between a burnout coach versus a practitioner that specializes in burnout and figure out which is the right path for you. Now, where this is coming from is actually a couple of different pieces. One was the podcast episode that we just heard with Tanya Winchester, where she was practicing as a naturopath and helped many people with burnout, with the hormones, with the gut, getting them onto protocols. Her training was all about looking at diagnosing what was going on, doing different testing to find out what was going on with an individual, and then getting them on protocols in order to help with those issues that they're having with their hormones, with their gut, with all different struggles they're having, possibly mold, toxins. There's all different things that naturopaths do. And where she was finding a disconnect was in giving people, individuals, these protocols and then having them go home and implement them, because that is very different. The implementation, the habit forming, is very different from where her training comes from. Her training is all about giving protocols. And she's very specialized in the area that she is in. So she started diving into another form of being a practitioner that also works on another element that people do need when they are in burnout, which does help them with some of the habit forming. And this was absolutely fascinating to be hearing, because there was a time in my practice where I am not a practitioner. I'm not a naturopath. I am not a therapist. And so many people would question me when I started off as a burnout coach, like saying, well, what can you do with us? Like, what can you do? You're not a practitioner. I'm not going to go to you. And it did give me a hit to me. I started getting imposter syndrome and thinking, well, where the heck can I come into place? And it was actually, I did have practitioners in my program. When I had a group program with first responders, I had brought a couple of different practitioners in. The first practitioner that I brought in, we worked together. She did the protocols. So when I was talking with somebody and they were stuck with things, I would then talk with her and go, this is where they're stuck, which would help her as well when she would have conversations with them in order to figure out which tests to give them or which direction to go from a supplementation front with them. And then she would come back to me and say, okay, this is the protocol I've recommended for them. And can you help them to implement it? This is when they're supposed to be taking it. This is how, this is why. And that's where my specialty comes in the coaching, is really helping them understand how to bring those things in a way that actually works for their life. And together, her and I were this powerhouse. We worked really well together. We worked like she knew her strengths and weaknesses, I knew mine, and we worked very, very well together. She ended up getting pregnant and moving on to another stage of life where she did have to decrease her practice hours. She actually stopped for a period of time while she got used to her new life stage. And so I brought in another practitioner. This other practitioner that I brought in was a different type of practitioner. It was a functional nutritionist. She had her PhD, like her education was unbelievable. And I respected her so much from that point of view. And the thing is there was a disconnect because we worked separate. Trying to figure out how to say this in a way. She was very set in her specialty and where she was, and she was highly educated, phenomenal, and she was able to dive in with some clients and break through pieces that other practitioners were not able to break through with her, able to figure out how to really dive into the back end with certain testings to be able to figure things out. She is still to this day is one of my top practitioners as far as really diving into a client who was stuck, who has actually gone to a lot of people and gotten stuck. Where the problem happened was there was a disconnect in us working together. And I do see this with certain practitioners out there. Our medical system is very much the same. Trying to figure out how to do this in a nice way. And it is. So this is what I've always said about our medical system is they are trained in reactive triage medicine. Our medical system is, they spend so much blood, sweat, and tears in this. And we need reactive triage medicine when we have diseases, when we have accidents that are where we need surgeries that are fatal. I mean, our EMS, they're doing reactive medicine all the time in order to get those people to the hospital where they're taken into the triage area and worked on. Like the medicine that they do is phenomenal. Where I find a disconnect there is that we have also been taught as a society that they can do all types of medicine, whereas they're not trained in the functional proactive side of medicine. And I do believe that to get into any career, you do need to fully believe in what it is that you do. Now, that being said, I also believe that if we put ourselves in this one bubble, which I did for a long time with myself, my knowledge, my background in massage therapy, totally understanding like so much about the body, working with exercise. I was training trainers. My knowledge in exercise science is amazing. And my nutritional knowledge is amazing when it comes to like health and nutrition. But when I got into my burnout, I kept living in that bubble thinking this should get me out. That's what they say. Living a healthy life is what's going to get you out of burnout. And I didn't leave my bubble of my knowledge for a while. I did go to my doctor's, which was another bubble of knowledge, but I wasn't in that need for reactive triage medicine at that point in time. And I was close, but I wasn't quite there. That they couldn't help me either. All their tests came back as negative. And then I started going to work with other practitioners once I started learning more about this holistic side, this side that worked on different aspects of our stress system. And it was fascinating because I would meet with certain practitioners that were like swore they could fix me with their solution, and that was it. I went to gut specialists. And I could only make it so far with a gut specialist. They could help me do a bit, and I kept getting stuck, which I later learned was because my nervous system kept firing in and shutting down my gut. So no matter how much that gut specialist did with me, I still needed to work on my nervous system, which is actually my specialty. I just hadn't looked at it through the lens of training it for burnout. I was always training my nervous system to be strong under stress and not training my resting system to be strong. So I started diving into my background of knowledge of the body and everything and started working on that. And then the gut specialist could make headway with me. I worked with other functional practitioners that some of them didn't even do testing. So they were guessing the whole time. And some of them that were so stuck in a box of just this is my specialty and this fixes all. Then I worked with others that were like, this is my specialty. This is where I can get you. This is another piece of the puzzle. And this is where that specialist can get you, because there are many different pieces to this puzzle. And so I don't at all fault practitioners that put, I'm going to say, all of the onus of the recovery of their clients on all of their training. But that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody. It's a lot of pressure to put on a practitioner, especially when you're specializing in one thing like hormones, or one thing like gut and hormones and nervous system, and your brain's role in how it perceives stress, threats, and stress. All of these play a part together. Also, our environment, also our social stressors. There's so many different stressors that play a part when it comes into coming into burnout, but there's no way at all that one practitioner can help you. There's no way one coach per se can help you. And if we start looking at this from a coach and practitioner in the sense of, let's even look at pro athletes. They have a coach. They have different coaches with different specialties. So if we think of the head coach job is to really make sure that the players have a really solid foundation and understanding of what the expectations are. They're the ones that make sure then that if there is some sort of a need that coach is unable to provide, that they have other coaches, other practitioners, other specialists. They have physiotherapists, they have psychologists on staff, they have nutritionists, they have personal trainers. Like the personal trainer is a different specialty versus the physiotherapist. They have different, like we take baseball, we have batting coaches that are different than your field coaches. We have all of these different specialties that work under that head coach. So when I'm saying myself as being a burnout coach, it took me a while to own this power and own actually what it is that I do. So as a burnout coach, I have this huge background and understanding of the body. I also have 30 years of coaching and understanding a lot of mindset, understanding a lot of habits, how all of these pieces fit together. I am not a practitioner. I cannot do the tests for mold, but I can start having conversations with you and diving into all of these aspects of all of the different stressors, because I'm very knowledgeable, very aware. I've taken many courses and understanding all of the different stressors of that can lead to burnout. And we can start figuring out which ones are stressing you out the most, or which ones are stressing you out and which ones are you mentally able and ready to tackle now. There are times if somebody comes to me and I know that there is like a hormonal issue that really needs to be addressed right away, that I will suggest at the start of working together that you do go and start working with somebody to help with the hormones. I won't actually do that with gut right away, because I know that we need to do some work together to make sure that some stressors are off the table, to make sure that your nervous system is on track, and make sure that the basics are covered with stress before you going to a practitioner that dives into it, because they're not going to make headway with your gut until we have made progress with the things that I know are in my wheelhouse, in my specialty. that my role as a coach is to then, when you are working with a practitioner, is for us to meet and you can say, okay, they want me going gluten or dairy free. They want me to take these certain supplements. And sometimes it's overwhelming. Some practitioners throw so many supplements at you all at once. And so that's where I help you with, okay, go back and ask these questions. What order should I start taking these in? And we start adding them in at a rate that works for you, that works for your body. I know for my body is so sensitive to adding new supplements that I need to only add one in every 2 to 3 weeks because my body can't handle it. From a habit point of view, I've taken supplements for so long that it's easy for me to actually add them in at certain times a day. For others, it's not, especially when you're working shift work, when you're working all over. We have to try to figure out cues and ways in order for you to make it a habit to take them at the right time for you based on your shift or based on what's going on in your life. So this takes time and practice in between seeing your practitioner. So I come in with that while I'm still continually working on the other stressors with you that got you into that stressed state. I am that head coach that is making sure that you are seeing the right people, that the right people are working together with everybody, that you're getting the most out of any of this work with other practitioners and with me at the same time without overwhelming you. It may mean that you need to increase the time in between sessions with a practitioner or increase time in between sessions with me, or in order to allow you to not be overwhelmed. That is my job as a coach, is be able to bring all of these pieces together, to be able to look at your Whoop and Oura Ring data if you wear a Whoop or an Oura Ring, and to be able to take that data and to be able to figure out where things are stressing you out the most. Where can we start decreasing them, help you understand how to start taking control and reading your data if you have a health tracker, in order to start taking ownership. That my goal as a coach is to have at the end where you maybe come back to me every 6 months, every year, or when stressors start piling up, you're like, okay, I need to revisit this with Andy in order to be able to figure out where I need to course correct here, or I'm at a new stage of life and I haven't learned how to course correct here. But once Andy teaches me, I'm good to go again. I know how to monitor this. I know how to adjust and pivot. I know what tools to be taking out. My job as a coach is to be able to make sure that you understand all of the tools that are available for you to get out of burnout and stay out of burnout, for you to understand when to bring those in. Be that with a practitioner, be that with a therapist, be that with hydration and breathing and all of the different tools, the different supplements that are there. Know when you need to start. Ooh, I've been under a lot of stress. I may need to do a little bit of a gut oil and lube change right now. Just regular maintenance on your gut. Understanding all of these tools without overwhelm, in a way that works into your life. Every life is different. And when we do bump in with quite a few practitioners, they get test results, give a protocol, and it's not always easy to fit those things into your life. So that's where I come in, is being able to be that head coach that will be there with you, cheering you on, motivating you, keeping you in the game, your head in the game, your body in the game, making sure that you last the entire season of the game in order to not burn out, to get out of burnout and to not burn out again in the future by using up all of your tools, which are beyond me, which is why I'm going to be bringing on, I have so many interviews booked, and I'm going to, don't have one in there actually with a hormone specialist, and I don't have one with a gut specialist. So I'm going to be working on getting those in for us as interviews, so you can start seeing where their role is when it comes to burnout. Somebody maybe that specializes in mold, all the different stressors, different toxins, would be absolutely amazing for you to start understanding how many pieces there are in this puzzle. And my job is to help take that overwhelm out, help to guide you, help to, when I see that you're stuck, maybe offer you some books or some podcast episodes by others that have different points of view or different learning lessons that will really help you where you're stuck with a certain mindset stick, or you're stuck with certain traumas. I can guide you with different types of therapies and help you understand and help you choose which one you feel may work the best for you and find the right practitioner. I have somebody I'm working with right now that we're finding them a naturopath in their area. And I keep telling them, like, we are diving in, we're finding your top 3 in your area. I'm giving them all kinds of questions in order to be able to weed certain people out, find the right person to work with them and their personality, their lifestyle, and the struggles that are going on with them. One size does not fit all. And that is where a burnout coach comes in to help you figure out what is going to fit right for you. When is it going to be right for you, based on not overwhelming you, keeping things in check, and working everything into the stage of life and the stage of burnout that you are at. Some may be at a stage where you cannot get off the couch and you cannot do anything. Then that's what we do. We give you tools that you can start doing from your couch. You may be somebody that is active and fully working out. We give you tools then for that stage. You may have young kids. You may have kids that are out of the house. You may be working full time at a high intensive job. You may be working shift work. You may be retired. You may not work at home. You may be somebody who is taking care of the house. All of these require different strategies, different steps in order to be able to get you out, what your health is happening, what's mentally and emotionally going on in your life. All of these factors need to be taken into consideration. So that is where the difference is between me as a burnout coach and where I help you and where practitioners can help you. All of them are important. We all have a role. I do once in a while think about, if I was to go back to school and become a naturopath or become a holistic nutritionist or become a functional doctor, and then I stop and think, but then I couldn't be doing what I do either, right? I'd have to choose one or the other because they do both have their individual roles. So I'm going to keep doing what I do, what I've been doing for 30 years. What I love to do is getting that human connection, finding out about your life, finding out where you're at, and getting the solutions that are right for you, be them with me in my wheelhouse, be them through other means. The goal is to get you out of burnout and keep you out of burnout, because you get back into the driver's seat and you know what tools you need in your stage of life in order to stay that way. All right. Any questions, definitely let me know. I have the links in the show notes for my email to book a calendar meet with me. If you want to talk about what it might look like to work with me, you can book that in the calendar link. I am here for you. Any questions, fire them at me and I will answer them. If I can't answer them, I will find somebody that can get the answers that you need if I am able. All right, take care, everyone, and I will see you in the next episode.